Hi everyone, welcome to the next video in this series. I thought I was going to do everything in one video, but then it took me about 40 minutes to talk over all my maybes, so I figured, let's split this up into multiple videos, and that would be the better way to go about it. So, if you didn't tune in for the other one, basically I am just going through my games on TABLETOP TOGETHER TOOL, which is a very useful tool, which enables me to look at all the potential games for Essen and come up with, categorize them based on how excited I am for them. As you can see, there's a lot of games, most of which I've ignored. Maybe it's because of a language thing, or they just do not appeal to me by cover or design or mechanisms, whatever. So, we've boiled it down to what few games I can get excited about. Well, I've just done a video on the maybe section, which took a fair while. Maybe games are ones that I'm curious about, or have a little reason as to why I'm like, you know what, I'll give this one a look. But it's difficult to get that excited about the maybe games. So now we're going to go into my likes, wants, and needs, because I reckon I can get through these a lot quicker. And then if I've got time, we'll talk about some games on the BGG Thumbs list, the Geek Preview list, that didn't appear on any of these lists, and go into reason why I haven't even thought of them. Okay? So without further ado, let's get into the likes. Right, so what have we got here then? So, very quickly, some of these are going to be expansions, which means they won't take long to talk about at all. But, the Abyss expansion, I don't think it's coming out at Essen. I think this is literally just going to be at November time. Maybe like is a strong word. I love Abyss. It's one of my favorite games. This is literally just a 10-card mini expansion, and I thought this was going to be a much bigger expansion. But no, it literally just is a 10-card expansion, mini expansion, and that's literally it. Kind of a little bit disappointed because I thought this was going to be a bit more than it was. Alright, now this one I actually do have a demo booked in, actually, to play this one. Alte Dawn of Civilization from Ares Games. Palamori, so this could, it's got some pedigree there on the designer. It's Civilization, which is always something. Deck, bag, and pool building, I was intrigued. Enough to sort of go, okay, let's have a look. But it also looks quite good, actually. Well, it's got a unique style to it, and I think the style actually kind of works, even if it is a little basic in its design, but hopefully it means it's a relatively easy one to play. But 45 to 90 minutes, Palamori. A blend of deck building, civ development, and area expansion. A starting deck with unique cards, depending on your faction, with subtle differences in the number of basic cards, and then you can use your cards to produce resources, build settlements, expand, attack, defend, manipulate their cards, whatever. I am down for a deck. I like deck building as a mechanic. Even when it is now shoehorned into other types of mechanics, I do like using it. I've even warmed up to something like Great Western Trail, New Zealand, which still haven't really found time to review that one properly, but, I digress. But this one, with those mechanics combined, has caught my eye. And Ares Games do some cool, stuff with this, type of theme. Again, Palamori and Ole Steines is quite a good combination for designers. The art style, I think, looks better on the cover than it necessarily did on the board. The board looks a little basic, but maybe the mechanisms will make up for that. So, I'm certainly curious about this one, but the mechanisms is enough for me to go, I would like to try that one. Ancient Knowledge Heritage. This is an expansion for Ancient Knowledge. This is literally dependent if I don't sell the game at the next Bring and Buy, because I like Ancient Knowledge, but it does not work above 2 players. It is just too long. This apparently throws in a solo mode. Whether I still have the game or not to warrant getting this is another thing, so we'll have to see. But it is a good game. It's just too long. Too friggin' long. Unless you play it with 2 players, and even then, it's probably still too friggin' long. So the idea that you could now play on your own is intriguing, but it is having to buy a whole expansion just to play it alone, which is always another problem. So it's on my like, because if I still have the game, I would like to grab this. Maybe do a Beyond the Base Game video for it, but that's as far as I can go with it. Andromeda's Edge. My God, will people not shut up about this game right now? It's another one of those, everybody's getting it off their Kickstarter and is now riding that train. I mean, not so much a hype train now, it's more, well, they're already on the hype train about it, but now people are actually starting to play it. The only problem is, the only people who I have heard give opinions about this are people who are mega fans of Dwellings of Eldervale. Now, Dwellings of Eldervale I liked more at first. I did a big review of it, and I thought, this is a decent game. It then started to show some cracks in the armor, or chinks in the armor as the phrase goes, and I got a bit bored with it. And now I don't really feel like playing it. It did have a good solo mode in it, though. But the idea with this one being a re-implementation of it is enough to catch my interest, in the sense that, okay, have you fixed some of the problems that the original one had, therefore making a 2.0, which could be a lot better. But, you know, I'm still holding back my anticipation a little bit because of the fact that the first one got a bit boring for me. This one does look like it's a bit more complicated. I'm curious if the theme has been represented better here, because, you know, the theme in Dwellings of Eldervale really did not exist. But the problem is that all I'm getting at the moment is fanboys of the original saying this is like the best thing since sliced bread, which is the same thing we get for every Kickstarter that comes through the post. I kid you not, this is what Facebook's like these days. You know, the people who are most vocal about anything on Facebook are the mega fans of anything. You don't get the naysayers on Facebook, because most of the time they get chased off Facebook because of all the backlash. But I would like to try this. This is definitely on my try list, but I am not going to go out and suddenly buy it for whatever insane price it is. I mean, what is it? £70? Oh, that's cheaper than I thought, but then, you know, that's still quite pricey for a game. You know, I need to try it first, though. So I would like to jump into a game of this, you know, which is why it's on my like category. Because Luke Laurie does some pretty decent stuff. You know, he does do some good games. But, you know, the reason it's not higher on my list is because of how I kind of waned off Dwellings of Eldervale, and knowing that this is basically just Dwellings 2.0 is now obviously making me wonder, have you introduced more theme in here? Have you streamlined it a bit? Is it less about putting huts on top of little meeples' houses or whatever, and then that's the way you get points? You know, taking out the monsters. I mean, that was probably one of the more thematic things in the original, but it was still kind of like a bolted-on mechanism for the sake of it. You know, it just created more FAQ moments than anything else. And I don't like game trays. So, you know, we'll see. I would like to try this, though. But I'm not going to jump on the, oh my god, I am hyped for everything about this game, I want to marry it and have its babies bandwagon that everybody is on at the moment. So, yeah, I'd like to try it. So if I get a chance, I will. But let's just stick with that for now. Alright, Avalon, the Riven Veil. Now, this one I should be hopefully getting a demo of. It hasn't been booked, but hopefully I can get one in for the prototype at Shadowborn Games. These are the same people who did Oathsworn. Now, Oathsworn was a pretty decent game system. It was just a bit long. You know, it took a long time to get through each scenario, and it was a campaign game, and I'm like, alright, can we have something that isn't a campaign right now? Well, this one is an area control game, which I'm usually a little bit hesitant on, but, you know, a little bit of exploration. Asymmetric factions. I only got to see 2 before when I was at the Games Expo. Was that the Games Expo? I think it was there when I last saw it. But I remember it having some interesting little card mechanisms that I was intrigued by. I can't remember a lot, though, because it was back at the Games Expo when they mentioned it. But, you know, the way that the card play conflict resolution, like here mentioned, and the hand management, was the bit that kind of got me into this. So I can't really say much more about it, other than the fact that that cover is gorgeous, and it looked quite nice on the table from a prototype section. But it was mainly the card system. Like, the mechanisms of the game intrigued me enough that I want to give this one a demo. So that's why it's not higher on the list, but I like the sound of it. You know, hopefully it's not too complicated. I mean, it says 4 out of 5. It's probably based on one person. I mean, who's actually voted for that? 3 people. So, yeah, I don't think we'll put much shtick on that. I mean, for all we know, that's literally the designer and the 2 artists. But, you know, I'm intrigued to try this one. Alright, so let's get rid of that. Let's go back. Coney. It looks like a very nice little card game. I'm down for a quirky little card game, but I think the main reason it's on my like list is because goddamn does that cover look nice. That is a beautiful cover. Oh man. I mean, that basically looks like almost kind of like the precursor to Watership Down, when it's like, ah, cutesy rabbits in a nice pretty location. This will be a nice family film. Wrong. Oh my god. I love Watership Down, but my god, that's a traumatizing kids film. But, you know, Coney's looks cool. it looks like a cool card game. You know, I mean, look at this. This is really good imagery. The graphic design looks relatively straightforward. Hopefully these abilities are not fiddly or to that. But, you know, I'm just down for a quirky card game. And the fact that it looks gorgeous and is about a theme that anybody's going to get into. I mean, who doesn't like rabbits? Rabbits are cute and lovely and cuddly. They're so fluffy. They're so lovely. I think my mum used to own a rabbit. Yeah, we did used to have a rabbit and a couple of guinea pigs back at the old house. But yeah, 20 to 35 minutes, 1 to 4 players, so a solo mode as well. Short, you know, cutesy. Placing rabbit cards in a 3x3 grid, you know. So I am down for a nice, simple, light, cuddly game about rabbits. That's pretty much why it's there. Alright, Flow. Flow is still on demo only. Now, this one has dropped from what would probably be more of a want. I do like what Pika Games have done. Pika Games did Sweet Mess, which I really like behind me. You know, that's an underrated kind of advanced splendor. But this one does look gorgeous, and I do like the sound of some of its mechanisms, and I do say some of them. I've heard reports that this one is a bit on the fiddly side and a bit of a bugbear to set up. So I am a little slightly worried about whether this is going to be a game that's maybe a little bit too heavy for what it looks like. And I think Merchants of the Dark Road had the same problem, where it looked gorgeous and it was, you know, like it looked like a great thematic game to play, but then it was just that little bit too fiddly, that little bit too much going on that made Merchants of the Dark Road not sell that well. I'm worried that this will have the same problem, but it's going to be there as a demo at most, so I certainly would like to try it, but it's definitely a try before I buy scenario. Okay, we now have Foundations of Metropolis. Hopefully I might be able to get a review copy of this one. Now, I have played Foundations of Rome. That's the one that this re-implements. This is basically the budget version. So if you want to get a cardboard version of Foundations of Rome with tokens and tiles rather than the massive box with all those fancy looking buildings and stuff, then this is essentially the same game, maybe with a couple of tweaks, but yes, essentially a budget version. I like the gameplay of Foundations of Rome. I think it's fine, but I do not think in any way, shape or form you can justify that price point. It doesn't need to be that big, that grandiose, and that epically produced for what is only a small game. It's a bit like the whole Awakened Realms and Castles of Burgundy thing all over again. So, you know, I am down for that game with that same simple gameplay in a much more budget-friendly title. Now, has it been made too much to a budget? I mean, it's not a particularly good-looking game, I don't think, from Just These, but the gameplay of Foundations of Rome was solid. So, I would like that solid gameplay in an easier, more cheaper package. Freedom 5. Freedom 5. Oh, I was so close to backing this on Kickstarter, but the price just got ridiculous. Like, it was an insane price. But I love the Sentinels and the Multiverse line. I like superhero-themed games. So the idea that this was going to have, like, you know, amazing miniatures of the Sentinels and the Multiverse gang, and it was a co-op, you know, I almost treated myself to, you know, back it on Kickstarter, but it was just too expensive, too pricey for a game that I wasn't certain if I was going to like. But if I can demo it and find out if I would like it, then I certainly would be more into it then. But yeah, that's why it's on like. I would certainly like to give this one a try and see if I have a backer's remorse for not backing it. Right, Kimono Memories. Why is this one on my like? Oh yeah, because it's Empress 4. Empress 4 do lots of quirky little games, 1 to 2 players. This one, you know, re-implements another game that I've never heard of, Hinadan, whatever it is. But you draft cards from a rotating board to put in your own little album pyramids, and you're basically, you know, I mean, locals and tourists wear traditional kimonos in Kyoto's quaint streets, immersing themselves in the city's timeless charm. As a budding photographer, you traverse the streets seeking permission to capture those elegant figures. You remember what the theme was for the geisha one or something? Yeah, they do seem to like these, you know, girls in very nice clothing themes, don't they? But the mechanisms sound pretty cool for me. It looks beautiful, so I am down for, you know, a cool little 2-player game that's in this lineup. But it's Empress 4. They put out a lot of cool little underrated games, and so I am down for seeing what they do next. Kraftwagen, you know, Age of Engineering. I've never played Kraftwagen. I've been tempted to because this theme is something I like. You know, this I like automotive industry stuff. Kanban much, and even Porter Games Automania over there. But Arcane Wonders have republished this, so this one is obviously going to be a bit better on the whole production front. I mean, that board already looks really pretty and really sort of easy to tell what's what. I don't know if this is a game I like or not, because obviously this is more of a economic style game, but it is about a theme that I can get into. 19th century, trains and coal and iron, and that is boring. I don't care what you say, it is boring and naff, and I don't want to play those economic games. But the automotive industry, because I like cars, is obviously definitely more up my more up my street. So, and this one says it re-implements the original design with improvements and simplifications that lessen the luck factor. Always a good thing when you can lessen the luck factor in a game that's meant to be a midweight Euro. So, yeah, I'm down for trying this one. My first chance to play Kraftwagen, and hopefully the better version. Alright, Chronologic. This one's a bit of a cheat because I already know that this is a good game. I played it at the Games Expo. This is a deduction game where you are trying to find out who did a particular murder. But the way it works is that you've got these, like, what they call the tachograph cards or something. I think it's from the same person who did Turing Machine. And the idea is it's got those similar cards with all the holes cut out in it, with all these cards. But the idea is that you've got like a map of like 6 different rooms, and you're trying to find out at whatever hour of the time, whatever hour of the night or whatever, where these characters were at particular times. And there's set logic rules as to where they can and can't go. And you basically have to get to a situation where this particular person who was murdered was with just one person at a particular time. Who was it, when it was it, and what room was it in? It's a cool little game. It doesn't take very long to play, but it certainly gets your head scratching. This I found to be a very solid game, and it's on my like list because I've not reviewed it, but I would certainly like to pick up a copy of it. And I'm pretty sure my friend is going to want me to pick up a copy of it for her as well. Drinking the rest of that cold tea. Alright, let's go to Japan. I don't know much about the mechanisms in this game. I've just heard it's pretty sweet, and the theme sounds cool. I mean, go on your dream vacation to Japan. It sounds like Tokaido already, doesn't it? But it's AEG, and that's about as much as I know about it, really. I mean, it's a closed drafting game, which is always quite cool. Simultaneous action selection, so maybe it doesn't take too long. It does say only up to 60 minutes. Can be played solo if I want to. But this theme and like the cards and that look really nice, although I'm hoping that's just flavor text and not actually abilities. I've got a feeling that is just flavor text. Let's see, during, what's that say? Cooking classes are a great way. Yeah, that's just flavor text. All right, cool. So flavor text is nice, as long as I don't have to read too much else on the card. But, it's got some like cool little art pictures, and it sounds like a very quaint theme. Planning a vacation in Japan. I mean, it's just a very nice Zen-style theme. So I'm hearing good stuff. I would like to try this. I don't know. I don't think it's been in the UK at all, so this will probably be my first chance to get it. But yeah, sign me up, because I would certainly love to visit Japan. Alright, Meadow Adventure Book. Mainly because I like Meadow. I like Meadow. The thing that slightly puts me off this one, though, is that it mentions campaign. Here we go. So, changes in basic game mechanics with each scenario, blah, 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 that enhance long-term gameplay. Expansion is perfect for 1 to 4 players. Gameplay experience. I thought it was a campaign. I swear it said campaign. I think you're allowed. I think you can play this as a campaign, but as long as you can play this as a like one-off scenario thing, so that I could just pick a scenario and play it solo, I'll probably prefer it if it's that. But if I've got to play this as a teach it yourself like campaign game, that's going to be quite annoying. But I also need to know how this integrates into the main game. If I just wanted to play a random module with this, how's it going to work? But I like Meadow, so I'm definitely curious and I want to see more about this. But yeah, just don't be campaign game. Don't be just campaign. Let me play each scenario by itself. We've got nature. I mean, if it's an animal game, chances are I'm going to say I'm interested in it. This one, what have we got here? Nature. North Star game, so this re-implements evolution. I didn't mind the evolution games, but I did find that they were a bit long. They were too long for what they were, and they were quite luck-based. I like these animal evolution style games though, so this theme does appeal to me. If this is re-implementing it, then please say that they have, like, kind of fixed the problems that the game had, because there were some fixed issues. So there were some issues that just seem to keep repeating themselves. But this one seems to have an idea where you can basically add modules how you like to customize the game to your heart's content, and it's sort of tailored to say, right, well, how complex do you want the game to be and who are you teaching this to? And at launch, the Nature Games system will support 22 unique configurations of modules. This sounds quite like a cool concept, although it also has a lot of room to fail. Because, I mean, we've seen stuff like 504 and other games do this mass module thing, but I'm down for it. It looks pretty. The Evolution game was fine, it just needed some fixing. Could this be the one to fix it? Alright. Reef Project. Why have I heard so little about this game? Honestly, has anybody actually, like, done much on this game? Tantrum Games? Is that it? I mean, is this all it is? Yeah, pretty much nobody's talked about this game, and yet it's coming out of Essen, so why has this one not got a lot more buzz? But it's published by Born and Dice, so, why is this one higher than Minos? Well, firstly, cover. Look at that cover, it's freaking gorgeous. So naturally, that already pulls me in. Like, ooh, cool cover. And Reef Project, ooh, a nice pretty theme. It's probably going to be aesthetically pleasing. It's going to be an interesting theme. Not just like Bronze Age, ancient, random civilization. I mean, look, Minos might be a great game, but do I really give an iota about that theme? Probably not. Reef Project, though, definitely elevated on that front. 45 to 90 minutes, so about the same kind of length as Windmill Valley, and that's kind of what's made me like this one more than Minos, is because I'm wondering if this is going to be more along the same weight and style line as Windmill Valley was, and less like their other Fair T games. It does look cool on the board, the mechanisms look fairly straightforward. So I am more than just curious about this one. I mean, area majority is not my favourite type of game, but let's say point-to-point movement and just the idea. I think it's more just the theme and aesthetics have kind of appealed me to this one. Will it be a dud? Will it be boring? I don't know. But as I say, your aesthetics and your cover and your theme are enough to draw me in for the first play. Remember my kind of unwritten rule. A solid theme that's thematic will... what's the phrase? Good mechanisms will make me enjoy a game. A good theme will make me come back for a second play. That's kind of how a lot of these games work, I mean, you tell me the mechanisms of this game, and I probably wouldn't be that interested at first, but you tell me this theme and look at the aesthetics, I'm intrigued enough to want to try it, and that's the kind of lure that you want to get. Alright, Restart. These are the same people who put out Age of Rome, which was quite an interesting, quirky game, a very unique game, for sure. They did offer to have me do preview stuff for this, but per my stance on previews, trying to minimize those whenever possible, I opted to wait and see on this one, probably do a review on it when it's more fulfilled, after Kickstarter. But they should be demoing a prototype at Essen, so by all means, I am definitely going to have a look at this one, because it does look like a fun-looking game, but the main thing about it is just firstly, that cover is fantastic. I mean, yeah, of course that's going to draw me in for a kickoff. And Age of Rome was very aesthetically pleasing. But this is an interesting concept, a tactical engine building game where you travel back in time to save humanity from its dystopian future. You try to change the course of events on a dynamically built tableau using your adult or child self. To do your best, you must recover from the side effects of time travel and regain your mental strength. Okay. And you're given a board that represents your mind and cards in the hand that represent unique events in 4 areas. Start with limited resources. So it's got some interesting... I mean, the mechanisms sound very different and unique, but can they get the theme right? Can they... time travel is a really hard concept to get right in a thematic sense. Can they do it? I am intrigued, and given how unique Age of Rome was, the fact that they might be doing something very unique with this one does put it on my radar, because I am down for innovation in games, and this could be, like I say, Age of Rome was pretty innovative for what it did, so this could be a publisher to look out for if you want something that's a bit more out-of-the-box thinking. So yeah, down for checking out a demo of this one. Sandbag. Mainly, it's on my like list because it's Bezier games and trick-taking. Bezier games tend to do some pretty cool card games and cool trick takers. I mean, the Cat in the Bag is still... I'm still on the fence about whether I love that one or not, but, you know, Bezier games do tend to do some cool stuff with Ted Allspark. But mainly it's on my list because it's trick taking. I like trick taking games, and I am down for playing more trick taking games. So, not much else I can think of with the game. I mean, most trick takers play out in a similar fashion, although I have to try and find ones with little quirkiness to them. Does someone mention it? So anyway, configure your basket with 2 face-up cards. The most common player is the trump suit. Each trick, play from their hand, play a sandbag, or play one of their opponent's face-up cards. Okay, that's different. If you can hear a beeping, there's a lorry outside. During a round, it's possible for the trump to change as the number and kind of face-up cards are exchanged for face-down sandbags. This sounds like a cool trick taker, and the fact that it works at higher player counts means I could play it with that fabled number of 5 players and probably still get a kick out of it. So, yeah, it's Bezier games and a trick taker. That's pretty much enough to get it on the list, but I must admit, with these mechanics, I'm almost tempted to elevate this one. I think I'm going to elevate this one to want. I really want to check this one out. Shadow House the Code, deduction game played in 15 to 30 minutes from Empress 4. Again, Empress 4 is, you know, a publisher that does a lot of these quirky little games, nice and simple. The previous one they did in the Shadow House series was fine, but it was a little hard to sort of get people to understand like the best way to play it, but it's still pretty quirky. I forget what it was called. Shadow House, what was it? I can't recall. It was Shadow House something. But this one is meant to be a very quick deduction game. Okay, I'm down to see if you can do a really quick deduction game in a short space of time with, you know, minimal components and a minimal box. You know, it's got this same sort of quirky artwork. So, yeah, by all means, sign me up for something a little bit different in a deduction game. Alright, Speakeasy, demo only. I mean, I say like... Mafia isn't my first theme I would certainly go mad for, but it is a Vital Lacerda game, and certainly this one has been shipped out to people previewing the game at the moment, and of course, well, what do you think? They all love it at the moment, so I don't really know what to think about the game. But Vital Lacerda games started off fantastically for me. They've kind of been dropping the ball a bit with recent stuff, and certainly I am intending to do Vital Lacerda as the next best and worst episode that I do. So I'll be talking about my favourite Lacerdas and my worst Lacerdas on that video. But when I'll get round to that, hopefully later this month. Maybe before Essen, we'll have to see. But I am still always willing to try a new Vital Lacerda game, which is why it's still on my like list, just not any higher because of recent fare. The recent 2 fare have done a pretty poor job at representing theme, though. I mean, Weather Machine, certain people will argue to the teeth that Weather Machine has a really strong theme. I get where they're coming from, but if that's the element of the game that you're going to take as a strong theme, my god, could you have picked a more interesting theme? And Inventions does not feel thematic at all. Most of the mechanics in that one feel like they are literally just bolted on for mechanism's sake. This one looks like it's representing the theme a bit more. You know, it looks like it's really taking this whole Mafia setting and doing a good job with it. So that is enough to intrigue me. It does look complex as all get out, though. I mean, this is a crap ton of moving pieces around the board, and I'm kind of worried that this is maybe going to be a bit too much on the road to On Mars, which On Mars was a decent game, but way, way, way too complicated to be practical. Hopefully this is not going to be, you know, too complicated, but the theme does sound cool, because yes, it is. I mean, I don't tend to go for Mafia themes, but this one is more to do with, you know, running a speakeasy business during Prohibition, so the whole thing of, like, making, you know, yeah, each assigned to a specific mobster, handling their business operations, and you're basically trying to, this is Prohibition was all about, like, you know, trying to make alcohol without getting screwed or something, isn't it? Doesn't seem to mention it specifically, but, I mean, I'm not an expert on this. You know, in terms of settings, I know very little about this style. I don't watch these movies. I don't tend to see much material with this, so yeah, this is going to be something a bit new for me, but, it's a Vital Lacerda heavy Euro. I want to try it, and I do want these games to get back to the way they used to be, like the ones behind my head, you know, but you have released 2 games in a row that have really not done it for me. Please don't let this be the third in a downward spiral. Let this be the return to form. That's what I'm kind of hopeful for. Return to form. All right. Tory. Why is this on my list? Oh, yeah. Emperor S4. Yeah, I mean, Emperor S4 games, you know, I may not necessarily know a lot about them, and I must admit, I don't get two-player games to the table often, but they're short, they're quick, and sometimes, you know, I do like to have some two-player games in it. I mean, Hanama Koji, the amount of times I've raved about that one. But this one sounds like a cool little game. Play 2 playful spirits, choose an action tile to move 1, 2, or 3 steps, spread their followers, you know, try to build a, plays in 10 to 20 minutes. It just basically, you know, looks like a nice quirky game. It's going to be one of those, like, you know, real head-to-head ones that's going to be very, you know, tactical. But yeah, it's Emperor S4, so I'm just down to try it. Alright, how long's this video been taking? Is this going to be a 2-parter? Maybe. Nah. We're near it a bit. I reckon we can do this in one video. So, Undergrove. This one, I'm going to keep it on like, but I have played this one. I recently played it. My friend of mine has got the Kickstarter. Side note, those tile holders are completely pointless. Don't waste your money on those. I mean, they work, but for crying out loud, you do not need them. But this one is interesting. I mean, it's beautifully illustrated. It's got the gorgeous artwork of mushrooms, some of which look more appetizing than others. But it was a cool little quirky game. You basically place these tiles down, and they've got various abilities that all revolve around basically collecting resources of some description. But to pay for these abilities, you have to put carbon discs down on the tiles, which you basically can activate a tile where you've got one of your little discs here with a root sticking out of it. So this one here can activate this short-stemmed Rasala, or whatever that is. Can I actually see it? I don't know. Can I go in? What was it called? A short-stemmed Rasula. Okay, well, I wasn't too far off then. But the idea is that when you, once you've got this carbon down on here, your roots can then suck up the carbon as an action and grow into these trees, which score you points based on the tiles that you're surrounding. So it's got an element of strategy and an element of tactical play as well. Not too, complicated with the rules. It's relatively simple. The main thing that kind of made me bring it down a little bit is that 60 to 75 minutes is about right, maybe a bit longer than that, particularly with 4 players, because there is an element of AP-ness that can certainly take place. But also, this one is quite tight. You are very prone to painting yourself into a corner, and when you do, it's not fun to get yourself out of that corner. And if somebody hasn't painted themselves into a corner, you can pretty much assume that they're going to win as a result. And the theme is not that strong here. It is very abstracted. I mean, you could replace this with any nature theme and it wouldn't make a slight bit of difference. So, there are some bits that didn't make me go goo goo gaga for this. But I did enjoy my first play of it, and it's one that my friends like. We all play Earth, so we all like that kind of nature-themed engine-building game. So they're certainly going to hang on to this, and I look forward to playing it with them more. But I would certainly like to grab my copy and give it a bit more of the beans and see if it... not to deliberately put the pun intended thing here, but grow on me. Yeah. So we'll see. I'll see myself out. Western Legends stories. I know nothing about this at all. The only reason it's on my list is because it's Western Legends. And Western Legends is a game I really like. But this is apparently a separate game, so thankfully not an expansion. Narrative twist, help build, so maybe this is kind of like a legacy game. Other than that, I know nothing about this game. There's very little information on it, but it's Western Legends. I like that one, so if this has the same sort of poker cards and narrative beats to it, I'm certainly down to try it. I think that's just demo only as well. And then finally, the World Wonders expansion, Mundo. Is an expansion for World Wonders, which is a pretty solid game. It's not particularly big. I mean, it basically just has a new gameplay mode and 9 monuments, and that's kind of it, really. It literally doesn't really add that much. It's pretty much just a pack. But, I'm down for more content for a game that's pretty solid. Alrighty, let me just take a swig of drink. There we go. Right, I reckon we can elongate this video a bit and talk quickly about my wants and needs, because there's only 9 games. Yeah, let's go for it. So now we've got past the subject area the category where I'm more than curious. Like, there's a reason why these ones are appealing to me more. Now we're getting into the stuff that I really want to try. And there's less than 10 games here, people. So, goes to show a lot about Essen and how I'm not quite so like, oh, just because so-and-so made a game, I'm instantly going to think it's the best thing since sliced bread. You need to convince me a lot more. But this is stuff that I'm definitely into. So, Ada's Dream. I played a demo of this, a 2-round demo of this at Games Expo. This is from Alley Cat Games. And it's definitely, for the most part, a dry mechanical game, despite the fact that it is an interesting setting. I mean, it's Ada Lovelace, is that how you pronounce it? Who helped build the first computer. And it's like, okay. And it's kind of like an alternate history version of what took place. And it's like, okay, I mean, this is different. It's different from a theme setting. But honestly, the theme doesn't really make a difference here. What intrigued me on this, though, was that I thought the mechanisms were pretty cool. And I do like some of these components with the fancy books and the tachographs. I mean, they are pretty sweet. But it's one of these games that's almost a bit like Newton. You know, the ones where you've kind of got like 4 separate mini games that you play. But I like this dice mechanism. You essentially like take a die, move it to the next little section of lawn. You might trigger bonuses as a result. Take the die, and the color and the value is going to influence what you can do in, like, say, here there's green section, orange section, purple section, and blue section, each of which is effectively a different mini game to get bonuses and chain combos. So yeah, this is a relatively dry game. You know, I'm not exactly expecting this to be thematically amazing, especially as whoop, that's too much. Especially when like a lot of it is placing certain like tokens and discs on, you know, this mechanical cog board here and putting your dice on there so that you can score points by saying, here you go, 3 plus 5 plus whatever equals that many points. I mean, it is mechanical through and through. So I know this going in. It's not trying to be a thematic game. But I like games like Newton. You know, some of these like mid-weight level games that are quite thinky, but give me a lot of options, and if all the options are decent enough that I don't feel like, oh, that was pretty sucky, then I'm kind of into it. But it's not just simply the dice mechanic. This one also does have cards that you acquire that you can, you know, do like really cool combos with, or get more, you know, more bonuses with, and, you know, trying to, we only played 2 rounds, give me a break, but you know, when the way we were utilizing these cards along with the dice and that gave me like, yeah, I'm intrigued by this. Now, I don't think this is ready for Essen, but if there's a chance to play a longer demo, or maybe just to play it again just to sort of reiterate my thoughts, then I'm certainly down to check it out. But I've got a feeling this one is not ready for Essen. So it might just be a demo, in which case I can't really do much about, but I do want to keep an eye on this one. I did enjoy it. Canopy Evergreen. Ah, yes, remember Canopy, the one that I won't shut up about with terms of its artwork? Well, Tim Eisner has been doing like great stuff for me lately. I mean, you know, he did Leaf, which I really enjoyed. You know, Canopy is a great game. I'm very much intrigued by, in fact, it's on the list later, March of the Ants. We'll get to that in a minute. But Canopy is a fantastic 1 to 2 player card game and looks gorgeous. Not so great with 3 and 4 players. This one, though, might be able to fix that and bring us a re-implementation of a game that was already vastly underrated, but to give us the same Vincent Dutrait artwork, but maybe play this in a multiplayer setting. And that's kind of what I want. I want the similar Canopy mechanics, but with the ability to play it with 3 or 4 players and not have it fail as a result, because it really didn't work that well in the original. You know, it changed the game far too much from what a 2-player was, and when you start doing that, it's a bit But this has Vincent Dutrait's artwork on it, which means, I mean, just look at the stuff on the table there. You know, it looked gorgeous on the table. Tim's a really nice guy as well. So, you know, this stuff has got me, you know, intrigued. I'm pretty sure I'm getting a review copy of this one, so I definitely will look into this one in detail. But it's got the same sort of card drafting and set collection mechanic to the original one. So it was one of those games where you were collecting cards, but not all of them were good. Some of them were good or bad. You flipped over a pile. You looked at all the cards in that pile, and then you decided whether you were going to take the pile or put it down and add a new card to it. And then you look at another pile. So it's one of those ones where you're sort of thinking, well, I really want to take some of these cards in the pile, but then I got to take these ones I don't like. And the more you leave them, the more they build up, the more lucrative they get for others. It's a cool system, you know, which gives you that kind of simple but angsty choice. So adding in a couple of new mechanisms to it, I mean, it describes the same mechanism here, but there's new rules for collecting food, growing trees on your forest board to get permanent bonuses and stuff like that. So I am totally down to see if this is a better version of Canopy, and I hope to God it is, or at least be on par. Because for a game that looks this gorgeous, I don't want it to be a disappointment. Don't do what Forest Shuffle did to me. All right. Evenfall, the Crystal Path. Evenfall, check out my review for that. I can't remember what rating I gave it, possibly an 8 out of 10. If I gave it an 8, I think it's actually grown on me more and should be a 9 out of 10. It is a really solid engine builder card game with a lot of ways for strategies and combos and, really cool system. It probably loses a point or two maybe because the combat system in it is a bit meh, not that interesting, so maybe that's why it was an 8. But it's a really cool card system, and a little bit long with 4 players, but yeah, you play it with 2 or 3, or even the solo mode, and it's pretty solid. Now, this is just an expansion. So it basically is introducing 2 new clans, asymmetric factions, new path, new rituals, places and places of power, so more cards, and more, setups, and a new catalyst where you can basically, do more stuff with cards. Apart from that, we don't really know much about it. There's no real detail, but it's an expansion to Evenfall, which I think is a great card game. So by all means, of course I want an expansion to it. Notice something though, that I've got a re-implementation and an expansion so far for my once. Harmonies, bit of a cheat. I have actually now played a couple of games of this. I would actually like a copy of it because I have played it and I do think it's a pretty solid game. It looks beautiful for a kickoff and it is a very simple game, but oh man, does it create some fancy decisions. You're basically collecting these cards which require you to build up little tiles of different terrain in various patterns on your board, which are hard enough to do. You select the tiles in a kind of Azul fashion, so this is basically Azul 2.0, frankly, in my opinion, and when you complete the pattern, you have to put a little cube on it, which means that you score more points for the card, but then it means you can't put any more stuff on it. And there are restrictions for how you can place certain tiles. Like a building is kind of like a cap. Trees have a certain amount of dirt below them. So how tall is the tree? And mountains score for having big, high mountains. Yellow like to have a lot of contiguous plains. There's stuff like that, but it's a very simple game, but man, does it get you thinking. And I think it's really, really solid. I mean, Azul is frankly dead, in my opinion. Dead as a door now. The game is still fine, but I didn't like the expansions that they brought out. I only kind of like the original, and even then I don't want to play it with 4 players. But this one with that sort of mechanism, if you're just going for Azul for the mechanism, play Harmonies instead. I really, really did enjoy it. Certainly one of the better games I've played this year. Alright, March of the Ants. If I can get into a demo of this, I want to know. I mean, I'm not desperate to back stuff on Kickstarter unless the demo is so good that it makes me want to auto-back it. But I never played the original March of the Ants. But I hear good things about this one when we talk about some games of old that like, oh yeah, this needed to get more buzz. Second edition means that they can, improve on artwork, graphic design, and mechanics. So this hopefully will be there. A 4X style feel in under 90 minutes. That was the other thing, because I think I was talking about kind of not open world, but open-ended, 4X style games with different themes than just space exploration. And this one, a lot of people suggested to me. So and this theme sounds pretty cool. I mean, I'm not a Bugs fan. I must admit, I don't like spiders, and I'm not a big Bugs fan either. I mean, yeah, even that looks a bit ugh. But as long as there's no spiders in the game, I'm good. I don't know. Hopefully there's none on these little tiles. We'll see. But this looks to be a really fun game. Like, it does look pretty cool from both mechanisms and artwork perspective. But I definitely want to try it first. So if they've got it there for demo, even as a prototype, I want to look into this one. Sandbag, we upgraded from the like video. Video? It's the same thing. But yeah, I've already mentioned about Sandbag. And, oh look, another expansion. So what have we got here? So we got a re-implementation, an expansion, a Kickstarter preview, and an expansion. Yeah, so goes to show that Essen is not exactly blowing me away with these games. But Veil of Eternity, really solid game. It's still on my shelf right there. Great engine builder, very simple, plays in no time at all. I'm down for more cards. 28 cards, new effects, artifacts that you can draft during the hunting phase at the start of each round. It can give you more stuff. So as long as it doesn't elongate the game too much or make it too complicated, I'm down for more content. Even if this will probably be slightly overpriced for what is a fairly simple expansion. But yeah, Veil of Eternity is a very good game. So, people talk about games like Res Arcana and that. I'm sorry, Seasons did what Res Arcana did better, even though it's a longer game. But if you just want a very simple, sort of dry, bare bones engine builder that can be played in like 30-40 minutes, Veil of Eternity is for you. Alrighty, and now finally we go into the needs. I need these free games. Are you surprised by these picks? Well, one of them you should be. Firstly, SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. I mentioned this one earlier when I was looking at Tomas's other game that he was doing, that I was certainly intrigued by. But from the demo I played of this at the Games Expo, I am hyped for this game. And I'm trying not to get too much into the whole hype train of it, but this has mechanisms that just sing to me. You know, it's already a really cool theme. The idea of like beaming messages into space to hear from aliens. That's something different that we don't see a lot, if at all. I don't know of another game that sort of does this. But it, 1 to 4 players, so I'll be able to play the solo as well. But the mechanisms of this game I just found to be really cool. I mean, it was slightly prototypey at the time, but besides that gorgeous cover, it's quite a cool, dark, sort of spacey looky at the table, on the table. I mean, it is quite striking. But it's got the map in the middle which rotates so that different planets and asteroids and things like that come by at different times, and you time your little satellite probes to go to those planets. So it generates like tactical opportunities that you might think, I can't really do anything interesting on space travel. Give it a few turns, we'll see. I'll do these things for now. Ooh, Mars is getting a bit closer now. You know what? I got something here for Mars. Stuff like that. But it's the card system that really is intriguing me here. Over 200 cards to aid your efforts. Each card has unique effects, and illustrations, and depicts real-life technologies and that. So it's thematic, and I do think the theme is quite strong here. But these are multi-use cards, I think they're multi-use cards. Let me just double-check. Am I remembering right? Yeah, you could discard them, I think, for the bit in the top left. The type of card was relevant. The effect was relevant. But yeah, these had different uses. So I already like that kind of system. In fact, does it say multi-use cards on... I'm pretty sure it was multi-use. Yeah, multi-use cards. So I love multi-use cards that are all unique. But these allow you to chain up some really cool combos. I mean, these ones that you play here will get you various effects. And, some of them specifically like on Saturn. And Saturn's nearby. And it's like, well, I could get to Saturn this turn. If I play this card with it, I can get a cool bonus to go with it. And you've got strategies that you can do and path to victory. But I love the fact that these cards just give you opportunities to do cool stuff. And that's one thing I love about unique multi-use cards. But I didn't play a full game of this, so I gotta admit, like I say, I gotta be a little careful that I don't get too hyped, even though maybe I'm beyond that point now. But as I say, I really, really, really liked this demo when I played it, and not just because the demo did a fantastic job as well, but the game itself just spoke to me, and I want to do this. So you can bet your ass that I'm getting a review copy of this and playing it as soon as I can. Now, I don't know if I can get it on the day I arrive. It would be good to get this on the day I arrive and then play it during Essen. It may be that I won't get it until the weekend, and then maybe I won't get a chance to actually play it again until I come back from Essen. But one way or another, can't wait to dig into this one. And hopefully it wasn't just initial first game hype that got me into this. I'm hoping it will stick the landing and keep going for more plays. Unconscious Mind. Fantasia Games, again, some pretty solid stuff. Now, I have played this in various stages over its prototype life, enough to sort of give it an 8 out of 10 at this point. I just realised I'm actually on, on my dummy channel. But Unconscious Mind was a really solid Euro. I mean, this is slightly a cheat because I have played it in its various stages, but it's got a cool theme that you're basically a psychiatrist, trying to treat patients. It's got beautiful components, but it's a very thinky Euro with a great theme of the real world being Vincent Dutrait and the Andrew Bosley doing the art for the the dream sequence. But you've got this little vial that you move along your track when you do actions, and when you line it up, you get cool bonuses that you've already tailored. So there's lots of different ways to customize your board. You've got a little map thing for moving your meeples around, again for bonuses, or trying to find Sigmund Freud along the route. But look at it. I mean, man, it is a looker. It's got the striking presence. It's very thinky, quite heavy. I mean, if people say this is a midweight game, they are lying through their back teeth. This is so a heavy game. It's unreal. But it's got a lot of that good crunchy Euroness. Now, the only thing that was holding it back before was that this whole, curing the patients thing was a bit fiddly and a little bit hard to kind of explain. That did improve with the last time I played the game, but I don't know if it's had any changes since then. But that's the one bit that was holding it back. so I'm hoping that that doesn't end up being a big deal. But you know, I love this, yeah, the artwork is gorgeous. I love this worker placement system. You put these speech bubbles on this board to trigger the action, but the action can be obtained from multiple directions. So you might go to a spot just to block someone else from going to a specific point because they want to move their inkwell so much. So you've got to pay attention to what the others are doing. Oh, there's a lot of jiggery pokery and a lot of little combos you can do, but yeah, I've enjoyed it so far. Cannot wait to grab hopefully a deluxe version of this at the convention and really get into grips with this one, because this one I definitely want to review properly, as well as SETI. Now this one is a need demo because of two reasons. Firstly, Valheim is a game that I play a lot on Sunday nights with a group of friends. And, you know, we come on and off it now and again. We went back on it because of the DLC content. But as much as my group could stand to get a little bit better at the game in terms of combat, so we don't take forever to do basic tasks, it's still good fun because we get to hang out and just have a bit of a laugh. But clearly I do seem to be a little bit better at staying alive than the rest of the party. But I digress. Obviously a board game based on Valheim is already going to catch my interest. But there's not really much else to speak of because I don't think the preview has even started yet. It's on a game. It's going to be on GameFound, but it hasn't even appeared yet. Now, will they have a demo of this? I don't know, but I'm definitely down for finding out more about it because, well, two reasons. The designer, or at least Linus, I've already mentioned him before. So, you know, he, like Champions of Midgard here, you know, Please Presenting and a few other cool games, and he's done quite a lot. I mean, he has done a lot of other like mid-weight thematic games, but where do I know him best? Yep, the same designer and the same publisher, Mood Publishing, as Deep Rock Galactic, the 10 out of 10 skirmish-based game which does justice to its IP. So many of these games do not do justice to their IPs, and these guys respected the theme of Deep Rock Galactic so much that they created pretty much a benchmark perfect, you know, scenario based game. And yeah, it's not picture perfect. It's not like there's no flaws with the game at all, but those flaws are outweighed by all the good stuff for it. Of course, if you're not, I mean, even if you're not into Deep Rock Galactic, the computer game, you would still get into it as a board game, I think. And people always want me to bring it to conventions like GridCon and stuff and HandyCon to show them the game, because it was mostly available on Kickstarter. So, you know, and nobody has ever said bad about it so far. So it's definitely got that pedigree behind it. But this is the thing. The same designer and the same publisher who respected the theme of a computer game I really enjoy is now doing the same thing for a co-op, again, 1 to 4 player co-op, just like Deep Rock Galactic is, for another game I really like. And if they can make this one as thematic to the game, I mean, if they can get, you know, all these little grey dwarf characters and the survival aspect, so, you know, Deep Rock Galactic's a very specific go in, shoot the bugs and get out thing. This one is more of a survival, build up, get food, not starve to death, that kind of thing. Fend off raids, craft items and bits and bobs. If they can do the same justice with this theme, am I going to be hyped for this one? But, you know, obviously there's a lot of room to fail. So just because you did it right once doesn't mean you'll do it right the next time. But yeah, I mean, you've already wowed me with one, so please God don't mess this one up. But if they've got more details of this at Essen, then by God, I'm going to hunt this down, which is why it's on need. I mean, I don't even know if they'll have a demo at all, let alone of a prototype. But if they do have a demo, hell yes, am I jumping into it. That is definitely a thing. So yeah, not that many games on my need and want and likes. I mean, as I say, the convention of Essen is not as lucrative in terms of its, you know, content as it could be. So, you know, it's I look forward to some games, but a lot of games just don't necessarily appeal to me. Now, we're up to 53 minutes on this video, so normally I would probably sign off and say, all right, fine, we'll just do a part 3 for this next bit, but I think I'm just going to spend a few minutes very quickly skimming this list and talk about very briefly any of the ones that I missed out. So, we are moving on to the Geek preview list. So, this is on Board Game Geek. And basically, I've sorted it by thumbs, so I'm just going to browse very quickly through maybe the first few pages, and very briefly, and I do mean very briefly, say why it's not on any of my lists that I've already mentioned. Maybe I'll find a hidden gem here, we don't know. The White Castle expansion. Really? This is the hottest thing on here? I mean, the White Castle's a solid game, but it wasn't one that I kept. I think I sold it on. Maybe it's cool, but yeah, the White Castle's a good game. It just wasn't one that was a keeper. SETI, well, I'm glad that one's high up on the thumbs. I wonder if I had anything to do with that. Inferno, never heard of this. Civolution, no surprise there. Arcs, already done a review for Arcs. You might want to check that out. Please don't kill me when you review it. Tried telling that to some people. Endeavor, Deep Sea, no interest. I was never that big into Endeavor. Daitoshi, I mean, use the power of Steam to do business and expand your factory in a big city. I mean, that theme just did not speak to me at all. And it's Devere Games. I might try it, but I wasn't that desperate for it. Galactic Cruise. I've already played a demo of this, so I don't really have much more to learn about it. Of course, I want to play this because I was really impressed with the demo I played for Galactic Cruise, but I'm kind of just waiting for the retail game now. I'm not going to go in and play a second demo of a game that I've already played. I'm going to play the actual game when it gets released. So yes, this is definitely on my high anticipated 2025 games. I bet when I come to do the top 10, it will probably be on that list. And by all means, if you want a heavy Euro that's got a very cool, unique theme and does it well, and that's kind of like an alternate to something like a Vital Lacerda game, but in that same weight level, then by all means, go to Dranda Games and check this out because it really is solid. But yeah, you know, from the demo anyway. Hopefully you'll get the board game wizard teach you the game. He's a really funny character when he's teaching games. But yeah, by all means check it out. But that's why it wasn't on any of my lists, okay? Cities. I don't know, it doesn't really look that interesting of a game from when I looked at it. But it is Phil Walker Harding who does do these cool like games. I'll try it. If I've got some spare cash, it's only €28, might buy it. So we'll see on that one. Already talked about some of these ones. I've already done a review for Windmill Valley, so by all means check that out. I did not even look at this one because I can't even pronounce the title. If I can't even pronounce your title, that doesn't exactly sell it to me. Ada's Dream, Unconscious Mind, Galileo Galilei. I'll have to have a look at this one. I think Paul Grogan has literally just today done a playthrough of this, so I might have to go watch his video and see if this one speaks to me. But maybe I could upgrade this one to a maybe, because it has got the same designer as SETI and stuff like that, so I'm certainly intrigued. Saltfjord, Mennefer. I mean, that looks identical to another game. Oh, what was it called? Did it begin with an N? I forget who made it. I don't think it was Lunover, but it was another like really dry Euro, just the point sound, nothing else. I thought it began with N, and that cover looks almost identical to it. World Order. I have played a demo of this, so I'm not desperate to go and get a second demo of it. We'll see when it comes out. Now, Black Forest. This. Now, if this is actually released at Essen, then, and it's in English, because it does say the German edition, which is kind of what worries me a bit, then yes, I want the game. Because if you check out my UK Games Expo preview, I loved this game. This is a heavier version of Glass Road, which was a game I had to warm up to, but I eventually started liking it. But if you don't like the way the card system works in in Glass Road, then you're going to love the map system that's in this. This is kind of like if Glass Road and Caverna had a baby, you know, and combine those two things together. You like that wheel system from Glass Road? Well, now you got two of them. Have fun. So yeah, it is a really solid game, but it can cause a lot of AP. I'm hoping they've got an English version. If they have an English version at Essen, then yes, this immediately goes up to need. So it was just the fact that this didn't actually show up at all on the Tabletop Together tool, because the first thing I do on Tabletop Together is that I go through the bulk filter and take out anything that is only released in German. So if this one at least has an English copy, I'm down, I'm buying it. But if it's only German, then I'm going to have to wait. Explorers in Evoria. This was a decent little game. I demoed it at, not Games Expo just gone, I think Games Expo last year. And I liked it. I thought it was fine. I gave some feedback as to mechanisms that I thought could be improved. It's a decent game. It's just not, extremely high on my list of ones to grab, but I recommend going and checking it out. It's very pretty. It's quite simple. It's definitely got a lot of competition among players. I just wasn't blown away by it, but, give it a try. Honestly, give it a try. Tea Garden Rebirth. I did a preview of this. I like it okay, but it's not enough for me to want to grab it. Luthier, I've already played a demo of it, so I don't need to go in and play another demo of it. I'm good. I really enjoyed the demo. so I'm very keen to get it when it comes out to play. But this is one thing to realize. If you're wondering why some of these games that people are talking about and doing videos for, I've not done content for, it's because either I'm not liked by the person doing it because I give honest reviews. I'm pretty sure Eagle Griffin has got to that point with me by now because I didn't like the last 2 Lacerda games. But also, so they didn't even ask me to look at Speakeasy. But the other thing is that I'm trying to minimize all the preview videos I do. So Luthier is a game that I really enjoyed as a demo. They might have even offered, I think, for me to do some content on it before, but I was like, look, there are people out there, Mark Dainty, and, some other, like, UK people that I trust enough, to do preview videos. I don't tend to watch preview videos anyway, because they're just basically adverts at the end of the day. Nobody ever says a bad thing in the preview, unless it's me, so it seems that way. So I wasn't interested in doing preview stuff for stuff like Luthier and Speakeasy and even Unconscious Mind when that was a preview thing. I'm just not doing that. But when this comes out properly, yes, I want to get a proper copy of it and do it on release. I'm a reviewer, not a previewer. Sky Team, okay, nope, alright. Andromeda's Edge, Rasafa, already given my things on that. Chant for the Old Ones. I don't know, this doesn't look like anything great from that cover. Flaturion, no idea. Ludinova doesn't... Do I have anything from Ludinova on my shelf? I don't think I do, honestly. Valkyries, no idea. Speakeasy, Pillars of Heracles. That title really doesn't sound anything to me. I don't quite get why some of these have got really high thumbs, though. I get why, like, a Vital Lacerda major release gets a load of thumbs, but why's this one got a lot of thumbs? Maybe it's fantastic and I don't know. I haven't got time to look into it in detail in this video, but, nothing about it seems that amazing from what I'm reading here. Is it because it's Aperion Games? I don't know. They only made Aho Rulers of Yucatan, and I think I only gave it an average rating, and they got on my collar about it. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure why that's got 358 thumbs, frankly. Phoenix, Minos, already said, spectacular. Undaunted 2200. The Undaunted games I liked fine, but I've only played the first 2, Normandy and Africa or whatever it was called, and I found them okay, but just very luck-based. I never played the ones after it because I'm just not big into these old-fashioned war-themed games anyway. The fact that this is sci-fi makes me potentially go for it, but I hear that it's got like a specific rulebook for solo play and a specific rulebook for multiplayer play, and it just looks a bit fiddly. I don't know. I would try this one, but it's no way. The Undaunted series has not appealed to me enough to bring it onto my like list. An expansion for Forest Shuffle. Well, I've heard good things about the Alpine expansion. It's overpriced for what it does, and it's a very tiny expansion, but it does fix a bit of the balance. So maybe if I was to pull all this together, I've heard this also makes life easier with the scoring aspect. What was it? Encounter, blah, blah, blah. Stunning artwork. Making every game session a captivating journey. I can't remember if there was some rumor I heard about this version, this little expansion, making it easier to score. Oh, no, it's not. The expansion doesn't do it. They've just released an app. They're going to do an app for it. That's why. Which is enough to make me consider the game again, but yeah. Shackleton Base. I looked at it, but it just didn't really appeal to me from aesthetics. Already mentioned these. Nucleum. I've since moved on from Nucleum. I thought it was fine. I don't think it's amazing, but I thought it was better than Brass, so I'd rather play this than Brass any day. But yeah, I'll play it if somebody suggests it, but I was in no interest to sort of go any further with it. But the world of politics and King's Court, this doesn't seem like something that I would expect to be an expansion to this game. I have a terrible feeling that this is going to be the equivalent of what Turmoil was for Terraforming Mars. And yeah, look how well that did. Conservas, Beyond the Video Game Champion. I did look at this from Arcane Wonders, but I don't know if I want like a pixelated artwork style, like game themed on it. Nobody's really talked about it, so I kind of skipped it. Barcelona, I did a review. I found it average, above average. I've moved on since then. Sand, I actually got a copy of this with credit, and I thought, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to possibly review it. I just can't bring myself to want to play it. I read the rule book, and it's like, oh god, I got to teach these like a mound of rules for this 2-hour game that doesn't seem like it should be 2 hours. It seems like it should be half the time, frankly. And it's like, oh, there's a lot of stuff to do here. It looks a bit intense. Oh, I don't know. And there's just a lot of stuff about it that kind of puts me wanting to play it. So I feel like I'm going to be moving on from this before I've even tried it. But I don't know. It's just not appealing to me. Did a review for Planet Unknown. Moved on. No idea what that is. Endangered. Never played the original. Virus. Roll and write. Alright, we're going to go through one more page of this. Canal. It's a Uwe Rosenberg game, but it's a 1 to 2 player version. And the last one they did, Orenburger Canal or whatever it was called, I never played. I don't know if it's any good or not. Granted, they did Fields of Arle, which is a 1 to 2 player game that I really, really love. So maybe I should give it a try. But I don't know. The theme just doesn't suit me. I'd try it, but I don't know. It was just really hard to get hold of the other one. So I don't know if this is going to be any easier. Kelp. Newsford Big Box. Never, didn't particularly like Newsford. I found it average at best. Maybe even below average. Endangered Rescue. Yokohama. It's okay, but it took way too long. The previous version where it was taking middle games. It was like 3 and a bit hours long, and yet you did pretty much everything you could do after about 2 hours, and then you had to spend the last hour of the game just doing other stuff for points. It was kind of weird. So could the second edition make it better? I don't know, but I don't have enough interest to actually try. Malhalla Lands of Legends. No idea. 1980, not into these games. Marie Curie, I didn't find the In the Footsteps of Darwin, whatever it was, that interesting, so I'm not that desperate for another one of these. Koinibori, never heard of it. Athena, now we're just getting into games I've barely heard of. Flow, I've already mentioned. Castle Combo, I will do a review soon. It will be a good one, spoiler alert, it's a good game. Sunrise Sunset, Marriage Mix-Up, what? Seriously? How the hell is this 227 thumbs? I mean, what? Come on. Harmony, Faraway, Sunavai, I can't pronounce most of these. Cascadia, Roll and Rights, Explorer, Expansions. I mean, yeah. I think by the time you get through this, these aren't the most popular games out there. But as I say, there weren't that many on this list that aren't already on my likes and that. But I've got reasons, and most of them are just the fact that I've played them already, or they're just not appealing to me as much. But good to see SETI on the second one for this. So yeah, there we go. That is it. That's a wrap. That is my Geek Essen preview video. So the first one just on my maybes, and this one focusing more on the likes, needs, and that. Hopefully you've enjoyed both videos. Hopefully this has given you a bit of insight as to the sort of stuff I'm hunting down. But just because I haven't mentioned your game does not mean I have zero interest in it. It may do, but, you know, the thing with Essen is that I don't tend to get hyped up about a lot of games, you know, that get released there, because a lot of them just feel very samey. I'm looking for innovation, I'm looking for new stuff, I'm looking for something that is not just rinse and repeating the same old stuff we've seen before, especially from a theme perspective. But I come up with a small list, I go get that small list, and then other stuff becomes hidden gems, you know, where I go around and go, well, that looks pretty cool. I didn't really look much into this game. Let's have a try. Wow, this is actually really good. I mean, this is how I came across stuff like Coffee Roaster ages ago. I would have never thought twice about that, apart from the theme being to do with coffee. But then I played Coffee Roaster, thought it was a fantastic solo game. It is still on my shelf. You know, these hidden gems are the stuff that I love to see. I even did a little thing on Slack and you know, various channels where I asked the question, do you want to be mostly optimistic but set yourself up for regular disappointment, or do you want to be pessimistic / realistic more often? I tend to lump the two together because people think that you're pessimistic when you're actually being realistic, you know, like having an idea that good and bad stuff can happen. But do you want to be realistic / pessimistic more often and be surprised on a regular basis? I fit more into that second camp. You know, I'm not like a massive pessimist, you know, even though I probably am harder to please when it comes to reviewing games, I admit, the curmudgeon of the board game industry. But it's more the fact that you know, it takes a bit more to impress me nowadays with having played lots of games, but I love coming across a game that surprises me. Like, oh my god, this is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Because a lot of the times I come across a game that everybody hypes up to, you know, Lord knows what. You know, I mean, you know, people hyped up Voidfall to, like, high heavens. You know, people are hyping up Andromeda's Edge. There's loads of other games that have been hyped up to, like, beyond, you know, beyond all levels. And then I play them and I go, well, is that it? I mean, you know, that's what you're getting hyped up about. And so those ones set me up for more disappointment than others. So I just like to keep my expectations at a certain level, even though ones like Valheim and SETI certainly might have put pay to that, and then go, Yes, it's meeting those lower expectations, or it's low expectations and then it blows my mind. You know, that's the kind of stuff I really like to see. Anyways, I'll talk more about Essen in general on the next podcast. So until next time, thank you for checking it out. Thumb up the video if you can. Check out the Patreon. Leave a comment about these games. You know, are there any games that I've missed that you think I really should give a look? I'm interested to, hear more thoughts, particularly if it was on that geek preview list that I skimmed through. But yeah, by all means, let me know your thoughts about games that you are looking forward to at Essen. Until next time, remember, regardless of what you're heading to Essen for, it's still only a game, so I hope to see you there. Bye for now, everyone. Take care.